All right. So predictions, video. These always go well, don't they, Luke?
Mm.
These always go well. And no doubt we've probably got all of them right. Uh, so I don't know if you can't really remember what we were talking about in these predictions, but the first one was more or less points. We went through every single rider, predicted if they were going to score more or less points this season. A lot of points on offer here, Luke. I gotta say, you had some ones at the time that I was like, what is he talking about? Anyway, let's get into it. The first rider, we went in reverse championship order, I believe. The first rider
Mhm.
was Joan Mir. Joan Mir scored 26 points in 2023. This year, we both predicted that he was going to score more points. This is such a good one. This is a great one. Joan Mir this
I've
season
just said,
scored 21 points. So we both got that wrong.
good start.
Great start. He scored less than 26 points. There's a rider who scored less than him, though, so there's that.
There is.
The next rider was Raul Fernandez. Scored 51 points last season. We both predicted that he'll score more points this season, and he did.
He did.
He scored 66 points. Good job. We're both right. Alex Rins scored 54 points last season. We both predicted that he would score more points this season. He scored less. He scored 31.
Oh, dear.
So that was he missed races though, didn't he? So, you know.
I think he missed races last year as well, now.
So it was just shit then.
He
Right.
won a race last year. Was that
Taka
last year?
Nakagami. That's right. That's right. So if he didn't win that race, so why did we then predict that he would score more this season?
Because he was going to
Like
Yamaha.
as if he was going to win another race. Was he injured for Kota?
No.
Possibly.
No, he just didn't
No.
finish
Okay.
the
Don't worry
race.
then. All right. Next up was Taka. He scored 56 points in 23. This season, he scored. Oh man, where are you? I've lost him.
31.
Oh,
He
he
got the
scored
same as Rins.
31. He scored less. He scored less. I predicted he'd score less. You predicted he'd score more.
Ah.
I'm winning.
Mm.
So you usually would not back Taka, wouldn't you?
Yeah, normally,
This time
but
you did.
yeah.
Augusto Fernandez was next. You said he'd score less points, and I also said he'd score less points. He scored 71 last season. He actually did all right. This season, he only scored 27. Whoa.
Bad.
Miguel Oliveira was next. He scored 76 last season. We both thought he'd score more with his move to Trackhouse.
I've just seen it.
And he scored 75. So we're both wrong. But we probably should have been right. He missed a lot of
He missed a
races.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So he definitely would have got more than that. The next one's an easy one. It was Anea Bastianini with 84 points. We both said he'd score more, and he did.
Mm.
The one after that is Marc Marquez. We both said he'd score more, and he did. He's got 96 last season. So they both had poor seasons last season because of things. But they've both done much better, obviously, by about 300 points.
Mm.
Next up was Frankie Morbidelli, got 102 points in 2023. This season, he got 173. We both said he'd score more. We're both correct.
Mm. Nice.
Next up was Digi on 151 points. This one was always going to be touch and go. Digi got 151 points last season. I said he'd score more this season, and you said he'd score less. He has scored 165 points. I'm right again. Thank you.
Are you winning currently?
Luke. We're
Is
flying
that?
here. Yeah, I'm winning. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm currently winning. Jack Miller. Oh, God. Scored 163 points last season. This season, he scored 87. The best part about this prediction is he's got about half the amount of points. The best thing about this one is we both said he'd score more points this season. Geez, we were on the Jack hype train, weren't we? He really struggled, didn't he? Fabio Quartararo scored 172 points last season, and this season he scored 113. Now you've got one back here, Luke, because you said that he would score less, and he has. I said he'd score
Oh,
more. Geez, I had faith in the Yamaha project as well. I just thought Yamaha was going to be good, I guess. I don't know. Alex
thought it'd be
Marquez,
more.
this one was also going to be tight. He scored 177 last season. We both said he'd score less. And he's finished on 173. We were both right. Another easy one, Luke Marini. We said he'd score less, and he has because he moved to Honda. That was an easy one. Maverick Vinales. I said he'd score less. You said he'd score more. He's on. Where's Mav gone? He scored 190 points. Last season, he scored 204. So he did score less. And so I was right again. I'm streaking away here, Luke, now.
You are,
You've
yeah.
got some catching up to do.
You're on a roll.
Alicia Spargo. This one was good. See, these two were going to be tough. Alicia Spargo. She's had a bad season, hasn't he, Alicia, really, when you think about it. He scored 163 points this season. Last season, he scored 206.
Yes.
I said he'd score more. You said he'd score less. You're back in the game. These are the another easy one. Zarco. We both said he'd score less, and we're both right because he's moved to Honda. This is like the Marini one, isn't it? Binder. I said he'd score less. You'd said he'd score more. Binder scored 293 last season. So I was right. He did score less. Oh, you had faith in the KTM there as well, didn't you, Luke?
Yeah, I did.
You thought Miller was going to score more than 163, and you thought Binder was going to score over 300 points, probably.
Yeah. Pretty much,
That's
yeah.
title challenge territory.
I thought they were coming on good with the KTM, but clearly they took a step back.
Fair, the momentum was with them.
Mm.
The momentum was with them a little bit, wasn't it? The next one was Bezzecchi. We both said he'd score less, and we were both right because he had a pretty poor season. He only scored 153 this season. Last year, he scored 329 World Championship points. Both right on that instance. Here's where it gets good. The top two. Now, the top two have both outscored themselves from last season. What's interesting is what we thought would happen. So, Martin scored 428 last season. He scored more this season, obviously in becoming world champion. You predicted that. You said he'd score more. I didn't. I thought he'd score less, which means I probably thought Pecco was going to be world champion. What's interesting about that is I've also said Pecco would score less. So I don't know what I was going on about. So I've got the last two wrong, but you've also got Pecco wrong because you said he'd score less, obviously thinking that would just be a reverse with those two. So let's tally. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 for me. 1.
And a rough one for me.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You did all right. One behind going into round 2. Did you? I know obviously you didn't remember a lot of these that you did, and you didn't have the results with you. But I mean, how many riders is there? 21? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21. 13 out of 21, you got 12 out of 21. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
I'm looking to see if I have the result, our predictions, but I don't think I do. So I
Try.
don't.
I can
I
just
just wasn't
lie to you
sure.
then until you watch the
Yeah,
video back.
yeah.
So I think we've both done okay there. Any of them that surprised you?
The Aprilias and the
I
KTM's.
think
They're the factory boys
right.
from them, I think, are the two surprising ones for me.
Yeah. So those two companies didn't because they'd obviously the two couple of seasons before that they'd kind of progressed, haven't they? You know,
Mm.
or the season before that, and they kind of just leveled out, if not dropped off, for this season. And Ducati
Or
got
did
more
Ducati
dominant.
just make a big step? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they let me down.
because as well, Martin and Pecco both got more points. So the guys at the front just dominated more.
Mm.
So it is a yeah. I think I was in a similar boat to you that I thought maybe there'd be more of a challenge, perhaps from KTM and Aprilia that would take points, and maybe even with obviously Mark, and they did to a degree, Mark and Bastianini taking points off the front two guys, but it didn't seem to work out that way. They both dominated.
Mm.
This one we're gonna. I have actually not written down this result here, but this next one was the teammate killer. There's 2 points on offer here.
Mm.
No, there's 3 points on offer here. It's the biggest gap between teammates and the smallest gap between teammates. And then for the biggest gap, if you get the two riders right in the right order, we'll give you a point. Now, do you remember what you said for this one?
Well, I don't, but at first glance, from what I haven't looked at the points, but from just looking at the championship and off the top of my head, I'm thinking the biggest gap is the Tech 3 boys between Acosta and Fernandez. But I don't know what I would have said. I probably would have gone Yamaha, I guess.
Right. Now, the funny thing about this is I forgot to actually write down this result, so we're going to figure it out on the go. Now, I said the biggest. You actually said the biggest gap would be Trackhouse. Now, I'm actually going to take away a point for choosing who's going to be ahead of who because, well, first of all, it doesn't matter. But also, you didn't actually specify that. I've just realized. So, you said Trackhouse. I said Pramac. Now, the gap between the Pramac boys, well, that's pretty big. So, let me crack out the old calculator.
I'm going to look at Tech 3 because they're pretty.
Okay, so Martin got 508, and where is he? Frankie got 173. So if I was good at maths, I would be absolutely just knocking this out in my own head, but no, I'm not. 173. That's a 335 point gap for Pramac.
Slam.
Now, I can straight away tell you that the Trackhouse gap was not very big.
No, they're next to each other.
It was only like 9 points. Yep. So now, I don't. What was the Tech 3 gap? Let's have a look.
188.
188. Well, that's not as big as 300 and wait, what am I looking at here? 300, yeah. Did Martin score 500 points? That's mad.
508, yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a bigger gap than that. What's Binder to no? Because no one scored more than 335 points. So the gap could, Mark to Alex is not going to be that big, is it?
No.
170, no, it's not. So I get a point for that one. The smallest gap between teammates. Do you remember what you said?
Well, it wouldn't have been Trackhouse, but I'm hoping it would. Oh, Repsol Honda. If it's Repsol Honda, then I'm in for it there.
You said, we both said the Aprilia factory team.
Oh, there's a massive gap.
Yeah. So we're both wrong. So you remain on 12 points, and I went up to 14. Losing touch now, Luke. Losing touch now. Are you surprised? I mean, does Pramac surprise you that much with that gap? Did you think Frankie was going to be better than that?
I thought that Frankie would have a better start to the season. Obviously, I don't think the fact that nearly dying in pre-season helped, but because he didn't even get to test the Ducati until Qatar, I don't think.
No,
So
I didn't. No.
yeah, I think he would have been closer. Not
With Frankie, there's
500,
always
but
like a caveat, isn't there? Well, 500 points is stupid. That's a
yeah,
lot of points.
I think
Like the
Frankie
gap
would have
between,
easily been around Vinales on the 190, 200 points if he hadn't been just nowhere in the first four Grand Prix.
which generally is a pretty decent run of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, he was on the latest spec, so maybe you could expect him to be higher, but generally, we probably at this point are thinking he's not on that level of like your Bastianinis and that. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does next season. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just because Martin scored so many points. You could easily envisage a scenario where Martin on a satellite Ducati finishes on 300 and something points, and in that sense the gap wouldn't be that big. But Martin was exceptional,
Mm.
so maybe that makes it look worse for Frankie. The third category was most pole positions. Do you remember what you said? Or who do you think you would have said?
I'm hoping I said Martin.
You didn't. You said Mark Marquez.
Of course I did.
I said Martin.
That's okay.
Uh, did he get the most pole positions? I don't think he did.
I know he did. He
Martin.
did, yeah.
Did it? Was it Pecco?
It was
He
Martin.
did. Right.
Yeah.
15 Le
But
Mans.
Pecco won the qualifying award, which was the weird.
That's what it was. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
because it's
Is
not
that's the
done on pole
highest average
positions.
starting position, right?
I think it's like
Mm.
I think it's to do with where you start, you get a certain amount of points, and it's like the championship, and it just adds
Right.
up over time. And I think Pecco had a better, like you said, yeah, better average starting position, I guess. But
All right.
mm,
Okay. So I'm 3 points ahead now. That you've got work to do because it's just a sequence of predictions here now. Quick questions, like the one thing answers. So the next one was most wins. Who'd you go for?
I'm hoping I went Pecco, but better went Martin.
You did go for Pecco. And what's good about that is I didn't go for Pecco. I went for
Nice.
Bastianini.
Who got two?
Yeah. So, 11-2. I mean, I was close, right?
So what is wild, and I've just seen here, Mark and Martin ended the season on the same amount of Grand Prix wins. They both ended on 3 Grand Prix wins, and
Yeah.
Martin
That's
still. That puts into perspective where Martin was
is
this
the
year
point
on
system
consistency.
damaged? Is that where like sprints come in and they're like, well, if you're just consistent and rack up points in the sprints, it's like overcoming. But again, you have to be consistent in the races as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. So it's 15-13 after that. We've got a subjective one in here. I don't know
Ooh.
why we went with this one. It was race of the season. What was the race of the season? I'm struggling to say I have a shocking memory for this stuff.
I'm wondering if a race actually won that category. I can't remember if they do that as because I know they do overtaking season. So do they do race of the season as a reward as a award? I don't think they do.
Let's have a look.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head what race I enjoyed the most. Malaysia was a good start.
Yeah, it was good
Then it
actually.
got boring.
I don't know if when we made this video, right, is how unorganized I am. Keep in mind, everyone, I've started a new job recently and I'm a busy guy, right? I'm going to make an excuse for myself. I think what I was going to do is maybe put it to a vote,
Maybe.
and I just completely forgot. So we're going to have to just make our own decision here. Let me go
Mm,
back through the races. Let's see what was good and what wasn't. I'm trying to think now. I was Mazzano one good just because of the chaos? I mean,
I don't know
trying
if
to
I
think
watched that
back.
one. I was on holiday.
Mm,
Um, I think
I might
Australia
have to
was good.
skip this one and add and award it later.
Australia was good.
Yeah.
Martin, Pecco
So we
involved a
like
little bit.
Malaysia. Yeah. Yeah, we like Malaysia. We like Phillip Island. Most of see the problem is these days none of the even the good races don't really stand out that much.
No, a lot of them were
Um,
rather boring.
Trying to go back to the start of the season.
Can't even
Hmm.
think of like
So
Qatar
I
was any
mean,
good. No, that was last year. No.
yeah, I'm trying to think of that as well. My memory is shot. My memory is shot. I can't even remember what happened in that race. I'd have to go back and watch all the highlights and that. Should have been more organised, but here we are, Luke. We're just making it up. So look, off the top of your head, you said Phillip Island.
Yeah, Phillip Island or Malaysia are my two that I'd think of.
Let's give it Phillip Island, all right? Because you said Phillip Island was going to be the best race of the season. So you were right. I said Le Mans because I was going to it and I want it to be great. I think that was okay.
Was it a
It's hard to tell
Martin
when you're there
Peters
because you're sitting
first?
on a corner. My team won. It's hard when you're there to get a sense of it
Mm,
because if you don't have a big screen, like I did have a bit of a view of a big screen, but my memories are all of the day in the circuit. They're not really of the actual race. Um, so yeah, we'll give it Phillip Island, and we can just chuck a little vote down below in the comments, everyone. What was the best race of the season? And if we've completely forgotten an absolute corker, we'll award it to that. But for now, we're going to
yeah.
leave it as a point to Luke. The sixth category was the wooden spoon. So who's going to finish last of the full-time riders on points? The last place full-time rider was Luca Marini.
Yeah.
I said Taka. So I picked a Honda. You said it was going to be Raul Fernandez.
Oh, yes. The Raul Fernandez hate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you also said Raul Fernandez was going to score more than 51 points. So I don't know how you got to that in your
I'm not quite
prediction.
sure.
But, okay, we both lose that one anyway. Luca Marini, wooden
Interesting.
spoon. Now, for anyone following along, I maintain that Luca Marini had a better season than Joan Mir. Because if you're a consistent watcher of my videos, you'll know that I partake in a championship called the All Japan Cup. The final results are coming out of that in a video very soon after this. So we're going to have the results of the All Japan Cup, and you're going to see why I think Marini had a better season than Joan Mir. But in real life, he's only scored 14 points, which is very, very low. Almost the worst we've ever seen, probably. Shocking. I mean, I'm sure there was back in the day, there's probably guys who just run around literally last all the time, and scored like 2 points. Maybe it isn't that bad to come last for 14 points. I have no idea. I've not actually looked that up either. The next one was Moto 3 World Champion. I can tell you straight off the bat, you got this right, Luke. Obviously, it was going to be him. Weirdly, I didn't pick David Alonso. I picked Colin Vire.
Sure. Third
Now
in
that
the end.
levels us up at 15 points apiece. Yeah, and I don't know. I think I was just trying to maybe do something a bit different because everyone was predicting Alonso,
Mm.
but it didn't quite work out. It was actually domination. Moto 2 World Champion. We've both said Firmine, the Vermin Aldegur.
Can't believe it didn't pick a
Poor
Gura.
season one though. I mean, was it? Yeah, I know. I remember saying this at the time. Actually, I remember saying this at the time because you didn't pick Agura, but the year before you did. I was
I
like,
always pick a Gura.
"Come on, Luke." Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. So, but when you saw Aldeguez finish to last season, it was
Yeah.
like, well, obviously, he's just going to dominate. And now he's going to MotoGP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
On a Grassini Ducati.
Yeah. Plum ride as well, isn't it, on a Ducati? On a 24 Ducati. Gonna be
Yeah, it will be
sweet.
24, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember who you picked for MotoGP World Champion?
I probably picked Pecco.
We both picked Pecco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's one category left. This is the so this is the tie break.
Oh no.
But we both got it wrong. We both got it wrong.
What was the
It was
category?
who was going to score most points on a Sunday across all three classes.
Was it Alonso? Is he the actual answer?
Look, again, another one I've not added up. I can only assume it was Alonso because Alonso scored 421 points.
Jesus. Yeah.
421 points. Now, Bagnaia only scored 498 total.
Mm.
So I imagine across his Sunday points, he didn't get that many. Because he would need to. So Bagnaia would have scored at least 60 points, wouldn't he, on Saturdays?
I mean, let's put it this way: David Alonso did not finish outside of the points at all season. So
Yeah.
I
And
think
he
he might
won,
be the
what, like 13,
14.
14 races or some
Mm.
shit? Yeah. So he's won that.
Mm.
It's actually a remarkable amount of points. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's stupid.
It's insane.
Uh, do you know who you picked?
I'd assume I went for Pecco because he's a Sunday man, but who did I go
We
for?
picked the same rider. We picked the same rider. We both picked Firmine.
Really?
Yeah.
With his, I don't even know if I have the Moto2 standard open. I don't.
Well, he didn't
I'm
win the world
impressed.
championship, so Agura definitely got more than him.
Yeah,
He
100%.
scored 182
100 and
points.
something. Mm.
Agura got
I think we were wrong.
274, so he wouldn't have been a bad shout, but he still wouldn't have won. Huh?
I think we were wrong on that one. Is the only thing I have to say.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even record the most points in Moto 2, so I don't know how he's going to score the most points of anyone. It just looked like he was going to win like 12 races or something this season, didn't it?
What, 3?
It felt like that. Well, did he even win that many?
He won 3.
Where is he? 3. To be fair, it's not a bad return winning 3 races, but
Guro
it
only
just
won 3.
he had a couple of strange moments, didn't he? He had a couple of strange moments during the season. Was the one he got himself a couple of long laps and crashed on one of them? Or was that the year before? No, he did that this
Yeah,
season.
I'm
It
not
was at
sure.
Barcelona,
Mm.
wasn't it?
I think so.
Well, look, we both finished on 15 points.
I mean,
I don't know what to do.
it depends. If on this poll the Australian Grand Prix doesn't win Best Race of the Year, technically you would
Then
win.
you only get 14 points. So what we're going to do now, the other thing is, I've done all these results on the fly because, like I said, I've been very disorganized leading up to us having this chat. I may have when I go over all this again, maybe I'll have seen a mistake I've made here and points will change or something. But for now, it looks like we've tied. And then what we'll do is jump in the comments. Whichever race gets the most comments for best race of the season, it doesn't have to be between Phillip Island and Le Mans who we've picked. It could be any race of the season you thought was the best race of the season. Put it in the comments. Whichever race gets the most comments, uh, we'll give it to that, right? Now we're assuming here that I get lots of comments. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't get many at all. We might get one person just saying
No
it was
comment.
Malaysia. And like, you lose, Luke. See you later. I'm going to go back and watch a few highlights and also comment. All right. So you comment, I'll comment. Because if I go back and I'm like, actually was Phillip Island, I'll give it you. Right. You can have it. But if not, if I'm like, oh, actually, Indonesia was great. I can't remember. Actually, my memory is so bad with this stuff. I can remember how good, like, the Jerez Grand Prix of 2004 is like almost lap for lap, but I cannot remember anything from the last two seasons. It's bad. Like this season, you'd be like, oh, what happened at like you mentioned before, Qatar? I was like, I don't have a clue. I don't even know who won that. Are the races just not as good, or am is my memory shot?
Boring is the issue. They're
There's not
just
much to remember.
the same person leads from start to finish in both the Grand Prix and the sprint, and it's about it. Gone are the days of like 50 changes for the lead, like in Assen in 2018, I want to say. So
Yeah,
we're very,
but
very.
yeah, like I said, you take me back to 2001, and I'll tell you what happened. No worries.
I wasn't
I
alive.
remember that shit. We did mention my greys in my beard before, so.
I'll bring it up again.
All right, Luke, thanks for coming on, mate. It's an absolute.
Well,
Well, yeah, maybe we won't get you on next time then.
well, at the
All
moment,
right, I can't
it's
wait to
like,
award a winner from this.
well, there might not be a winner. We won't be sharing it.
When you and I both just comment, when you comment Phillip Island and I comment Barcelona or something, it's going to be like,
Anywhere.
what?
Well, what did you pick? What
Yeah,
was
just
your?
any other race. I picked Le Mans, but I actually
Oh
can't
yeah,
remember it. I mean,
just
like I
comment
said, I
Le
was
Mans.
there, but I can't actually remember what happened in the race. I remember because you know when you're at the races, if someone's just leading at the front, you don't really follow the TV screen that much. I'll be like, oh, there's bikes coming past. I'm like enjoying watching them come past and that. And so I remember a couple of battles throughout the field. I remember what Fabio's race was like because he was flying and he was coming like sixth or something and he crashed.
Hmm.
And I was right on board. Obviously, the French fans were getting behind him, so I was involved. I was kind of really involved with that battle. You know, getting in, with the French fans and that. But it was great atmosphere. But I don't really remember. I remember Martin won. I don't really remember that much of what actually how he won and stuff like that. I'm trying to think now. Was there a bit of a battle at the front? Was it half? I can't remember. Anyway,
I did
I'm
just
gonna
look
go
at the
back and watch a
results
heap
for
of
the French
highlights.
Grand Prix, and
Yep.
Martin
And
was 0.4 seconds ahead of Mark and 0.4 seconds ahead, 0.5 seconds ahead of
so
Pecco.
it was a good race.
It might have been a good race, as well. We're at here.
It might have been an absolute. It was good because was Pecco and Bast. Now I'm starting to remember. And Bastianini came from way back and ended up like he still didn't finish near the front, but he had to fight through the field.
And Mark
It
came
was
through the
tight at the
field as
front. I tell
well.
you what, Luke, low key, I'm about to win this.
I think you might be. I'm very worried now.
Oh shit. We're gonna have to award this after the fact. And look, I might. Should I? Do I just upload this and then we try and get the results in the comments, or do I run a poll and then put the results up at the end? I'll think of something. I'll think of
All I
something.
know is I'm gonna watch this French highlights now and try and remind myself of what actually happened.
I can't believe it was the best race of the year and I don't even remember.
I'm really worried now that I looked at those results. I wish I hadn't.
I was. It's more embarrassing for me, Luke, because I was actually there.
I don't remember the results of the Grand Prix that I was last at though, so I can't remember the last
What
Grand
was
Prix I was at.
Silverstone, whatever year it was?
Silverstone 22, I want to say I went to 23 maybe.
That one while I was there as well.
I went the year after that as well. So which one did you go
Yeah,
to?
okay. Yeah, so it would have been 23 probably. I think I was at 22, I think.
Oh, I'm really worried. I've just got the highlights up. Oh, it was good. I've just seen an
Oh, shit.
overtake, so it must have been good.
I can't wait till we get the
Oh,
result
it
of
was
this.
good. I've just seen a really good moment.
Obviously, the people watching are gonna know the result as they're watching it, but we have no fucking idea.
I'm
I can't believe
watching
Le Mans is just
Martin
the best.
and
It's always a good Grand
Pecco
Prix as well,
scrap.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think you've won that.
I can't wait to hear what the people think. All right, we'll leave
Yeah,
that one for the people. Thanks, Luke. It's
no
been a
worries, mate.
blast, as always. All right, thanks, everyone. Comment your best Grand Prix of the year, your favorite Grand Prix of the year, so we know the winner.
Yeah,
Nice one. All right, we'll see you maybe at some point in the off season, but at least maybe we'll do our predictions again at the start of the season next
yeah,
season. All right, thanks, mate. Thanks again. I'll
yeah. Another year,
I'll
another
do a little
loss.
in my intro. I'll let everyone. Yeah. Have you? Well, I'm gonna have to go back and see what the results have been in the past. Who's won them all?
I think you won all of them.
Sounds about right. All right, mate. Take it easy.
Cheers, mate.